stinger.
Sitting in my mobile coffee shop,
making videos about my transvestite children for TikTok.
Speaking of his children, check this out.
I'm getting ready for bed, but I wanted to share with you a little bit of pure joy, a little bit of joy from my life. Today I did a dad-son date with my son. It's something I do with both of my kids.
Dad,
Why
please
would
don't
you
call
call
it
it a date? Why is it? What's this thing with children? It's so weird. A dad-son date?
Also, his kids are in like high school. They're not.
You went out to eat with your son. It's not a date. What's wrong? He's like,
Do you think the kid is doing that too? Like, oh, I just went on a date with daddy. Like,
yep. As he's getting pushed into a locker.
But just a little time, the two of us together, and we went to one of our favorite spots. And as we were sitting there waiting for our food, we had just ordered. We were doing what we always do. My kids are the joy in my life, so we were joking and laughing. And I think anybody who sees us from a million miles away can tell, well, first, that I love my kids more than anything. And also that my kids love spending time with me. And
I got news for you, Dan. No one's thinking about it, particularly from a million miles away. But even within 1 mile, no one's looking at you and thinking about your relationship with your children.
Talk about main character syndrome. And it's going to get worse. But let me just point out, I'm starting to not believe his children like him. The more he talks about how much his kids love him because he's such a great dad.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for him to talk about how he showed his kids Almost Famous and they loved the movie because that's the next step here. This is getting weird.
All right, so everyone's looking at him going, God, he's such a great dad. Look at him.
Yeah, listen to this. This gets wild. This is next level, even for Dan.
I'm, of course, wearing a shirt that says "Fight for those without your privilege," and I'm wearing an LGBTQ support ally bracelet.
Sweet.
And
do you have any fucking T-shirts, Dan? Do you have any fucking black T-shirts?
Nope. Everything's a political message. Everything has to try to win people over or prove that he's more woke than them. He's incredible.
I just started to look around and notice that the people around us were all sort of just staring with big smiles on their faces. And in that moment, I realized, as a dad to a kid in the LGBTQIA community, that there were so many members of that community around me and just taking joy from the experience that we were having together.
Whoa. Mike, this guy is making some wild leaps. He's determined what other people are thinking and the emotions that they're feeling. He's got it all figured out.
Does he say, I forget, they're just at a restaurant? Just a
They're at a restaurant, their favorite restaurant.
Okay, their favorite restaurant. And so a circle of gays and trans huddle around him to observe him? Is that what's happening?
They're all staring and smiling.
How does he know these people are gay, by the way?
Well, I mean, Mike, you know.
Are they sucking and fucking at this restaurant?
Yeah, I mean, there's some, blue hair. And,
I don't think Dan would say that makes you gay necessarily. But it's interesting. It's interesting that he spots them like that.
The old earring in the right ear thing. There's a few giveaways.
Dale's like, hey, all these gays. They're like, hey, fuck you, pal.
Isn't it amazing how much he judges people?
Yeah.
It's nonstop determining who people are. Like, he looks at a group of people and he automatically determines their backstory.
They were all Trump supporters. They're all gay.
It's incredible.
That sudden realization that so many of those people didn't have what I have with my son and what I have with my daughter. They never had growing up with their...
Wow. The assumptions that he's making here. All that happened was him and his kid were laughing at dinner. They were probably being obnoxious. People are looking over like, what are these people doing? And he goes, yeah, these poor people, they grew up gay and trans and their parents didn't accept them like I do.
We definitely don't live in a time where you can safely assume that a gay person has been exiled by their parents.
Correct.
We don't live in that time anymore, which is a great thing. Daniel should be happy about that. But he's like, oh, this person, I'm just assuming this person's gay by the way they look. Yep. And they also probably don't speak to their parents.
Right. And also, I don't know if you know this, but when you're gay and trans, you get joy by seeing other gay and trans people having joy.
Look at it's one of us having dinner with the greatest dad of all time.
This is so insane.
Parents. So if it brings you some joy today, I need you to know that people like me exist. That
Oh.
I love my kids.
Oh, the fucking narcissism here.
What?
Guys, I want you to know before you go to bed tonight that good news, people like me exist. Fuck you. Wow.
Maybe this is because I can't see. I can't see the expressions of utter ecstasy on their faces. But when I go out to dinner with my girlfriend, I've never once had the thought, and this is a little sad now that I'm thinking about this. I never think like, oh, all the other women in this restaurant are looking at me like, man, that girl is the luckiest girl in the world.
You don't have
She's
that thought,
with
Mike?
Mike Geary.
You
No, I
don't have that thought?
I don't imagine anyone with a normal functioning brain has ever had that thought.
I love when people are looking over at me and Jen because I'm being a horse's ass and they go, she married a podcaster. What a lucky gal. What a lucky gal.
I don't know,
Eddie
do
drinks
you
too
people
much?
do you people with eyes look at other tables and just like assess their entire lives immediately
No.
like that?
No.
Okay,
Definitely
so it's not. I'm not missing out.
The reason why you look over at a table, if you're in a restaurant, especially a crowded restaurant, is because they're being obnoxious.
Right.
I shoot daggers at people when if someone's like playing their fucking phone, they're watching videos or FaceTiming with someone, I shoot daggers. I'm like, what are you doing?
Oh. And people look back at you and go, "That guy doesn't talk to his parents."
It's unconditionally, and there are a lot of us. I'm sorry if any of you didn't get to live that life with that joy.
Wow.
But we got your back now. We support you now. We love you now. And you deserve the joy just as much as everyone else.
You know what Dan needs more than anything?
What's that?
He needs a gay guy to tell him to fuck off. You know, or a trans person just be like, dude, we don't need you. You're really harshing our butts.
You're
over here."
pandering to us. You're
Yes.
talking to us like we're mentally challenged or
Right.
something.
Yeah. Like we can't survive in this world. We're good, man.
It is. It's criminally insulting what Dan is saying to these people, and also just the idea that people are looking at him. How would he know that what they're thinking when they look at him is what a great father he is? Where is he getting this?
He knows what they're thinking, what they're feeling, and what their backstory is.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. This guy must be so intuitive. All right, let's get an update on the art studio, Mike. We got to keep moving here.
It's about time. Yeah.
When I first started renovating this space, this art studio that's going to support kids in vulnerable communities, I didn't have any idea.
Gonna support Jesus, Mike. How long have we been on this beat?
One day, don't worry, get baby steps.
damn.
It takes a village. And,
Oh
you know.
my! It takes forever, is what it takes.
I had a dream and I was passionate about it. I had no idea it was going to cost so much or take so much time. But when you get into
Because you're a poor planner.
places like this where you need potter's wheels and you need kilns and stuff, that stuff gets expensive. Now my first purchase...
Shit! You need that for an art studio? Well, that took 2 years for you to figure out.
He needs potter wheels and kilns. How about heat and a roof? Let's not forget those things. They are also necessary for your art studio.
Imagine being over 2 years at this point of building an art studio, and this week he's like, "Damn it! I need a potter's wheel." Son of a bitch.
This was that kiln right there, which is almost 60 years old. And it worked for a while. But if you know anything about kilns, something like that, you need to babysit. It takes about 12 hours to do a full firing on that kiln, and you need to be there to turn the temperature up and to watch it. And when all of the switches started to go on it and a lot of the electrical started to go on it, I knew that if I was going to teach kids in this space, I needed something newer and bigger and better. So I ordered this L&L kiln in January, and it just showed up. It just arrived. This is scary, though. This is terrifying because these things cost a ton of money.
This is crazy to me.
Hint, hint.
So Dan owned that kiln he was talking about, the 60-year-old kiln. And then someone donated the kiln to him that he's been using for all of his pottery all this time. And now he's gone out and bought a better kiln that cost him a ton of money, even though he already has one. Do you remember when, I forget what it was like a furnace or something, He needed to be replaced.
Oh,
and
yes.
he came out and just like, guys, I didn't realize this, but this is going to cost over $10,000. I don't have that in my budget. I don't know how we're going to pull this off. And now he's frivolously buying things that he already has.
Guys, bad news. I've hit a bit of a snag. We're 2 years into the art studio, and I'm starting to realize stuff costs money. And that wasn't part of my plan.
This is crazy.
And it takes a lot out of my budget to be able to do stuff like this.
Right.
I'm sharing all of this with
And this is not for the kids, by the way. The kids don't care about mugs. This is all for Dan. Dan's the one who's making all the mugs and selling them.
Yeah. The pottery wheel isn't for the 5-year-olds.
He's like, here's some crayons. Here's some crayons in a coloring book, idiot. Now I'm going to go make some pottery.
No, he's giving those to the homeless. Remember?
Well, yeah, we'll get
None
into
of this is distributed correctly.
We'll get into that, yeah.
because I don't want you to think that I'm not still working on this space, but things like this, they take a big hit out of my budget. I need to save up a little bit more in order to do the next renovation because I'm pretty much trying to do this just me. It's just a me show. There are a lot of kids out there in need, and I'm going to support a lot of those kids. I already do with my other actions, but this space is going to be something phenomenal. It's going to be beautiful, and it's going to keep kids happy, healthy, and safe.
How is this place going to keep kids healthy and safe? How is that possible? What's he talking about?
Well, it won't be safe because the walls are going to collapse. So they'll basically be outside.
And also, they'll go other places. They won't just only be in this art studio.
I forgot I've announced this now, so I can say it. I bit my tongue a few times when Daniel would talk about the art studio. I had a fucking house built in like 6 months.
So it is doable, is what you're saying.
This guy can't build a room?
Even on a podcaster's budget, you could have a house built, is what you're telling us.
Yes.
It's crazy, right?
Jesus Christ, Daniel.
Thank you for being patient. And thank you for following along on this journey.
Thanks for the update, Dan. We were all wondering what was going on with the art studio.
The kids that were kids when this art studio began are adults now. They're like,
Right.
no, we've moved on. We can't even use it anymore.
I'm no longer into coloring books, Dad. I mean, it was when you told me this 7 years ago, I was like, all right, sweet.
I had high hopes, but
Yeah, but now I just don't give a shit anymore. I'm more into drinking beers and hanging out with girls, but all right. All right. Oh, this is an interesting video. As you know, Dan used to wear a shirt, he might still, that says free vaccinated dad hugs.
wasn't that only a couple weeks ago? Maybe it was an old video we
It
watched.
wasn't
I
that
thought it was
long
only
ago.
a couple weeks ago, yeah.
It wasn't that long ago. He was talking about this shirt, free vaccinated dad hugs. He's all proud of himself because he's vaccinated and he gives dad hugs to children.
He's a heck of a hugger.
Yep.
Parenting today isn't easy, but there are some things I just would never do. And I got to teach another parental lesson today, probably in the safest possible way. I'm going to share it with you because I think I need for all of you to hear this and to see this. But I mean, I've got these bracelets, right? I got a bunch of them and I wear them because I'm handing them out to kids when I see them. I keep a couple on me. Honestly, anybody who's having a bad day, like, these are super positive. They all say, like, I'm talented, I'm unique, I'm loved, and it really
how do
brings a
you
smile
know
to
if these people are they're strangers? How do you know if they're having a bad day?
What kind of slow gets cheered up by having a bracelet that says I am talented on it?
And if you're having a real bad day and a stranger goes, hey, you want a bracelet? You go, fuck off.
Yeah, no kidding.
And then later you're like, ah, shit, I was in a bad mood. I shouldn't have said that to that guy. But
Fine,
you're not
just
like,
be
yay,
nice.
bracelet.
He literally has a bracelet on his own wrist that says I am smart. There is not a single smart person alive who would wear a bracelet that says I am smart on it. You have to be a fucking moron to do that. What is going on with this guy?
On the other side, it's his address in case he gets lost.
the people's face. Well, I saw a kid a little bit earlier who was having a rough go at today. So I asked the parent for consent to be able to offer one of the bracelets. I said, hey, is it all right if I give them a bracelet? Because that's important.
You don't have to use the word consent. You can just say I asked the parent if it was okay.
I mean, you don't want to give anything to a kid.
The words he uses about children, date, consent, these are adult themes here. Wow.
If a parent isn't approving of it, that can end up pretty negative. But they said yes, so I asked what color that kid would like. I handed over the bracelet. They changed their mood. They were so excited, and the parent said, that was so nice of him. Why don't you go give him a hug? And my immediate response was, no!
I'm not a pervert.
Wait a second. Is Dan getting some feedback that he's trying to change the narrative on? It sounds like.
We're doing it to all these people. Sirasani's distancing himself from Schomburg.
Guys, when I ask like a Papa's ass, I'm just joking, and then we got Woke Dad over here. Hey, when I talk about hugging children, I'm not even into that. Okay.
I like the idea that he's like repulsed by it. He's like, well, I certainly don't have a shirt that says free hugs, if that's what you're thinking, lady.
I don't talk about hugging children, strangers, by the way, all the time on my TikTok. He does all the time.
Yes.
My immediate response was that because you don't want to set a bad precedent for your kid. You don't want to teach them that it's okay to hug a complete and total stranger because they gave them something in a store, out in the wild, out in public. You don't want your kids to take candy from the guy in the van and get in the van. Like, you just don't do that.
I'm sorry, is that you?
Now,
Yes.
In this scenario?
In this scenario, he is the predator that the parents need to protect their children from. Correct. He's not understanding that, obviously.
I want more than anything for you to set good precedents for keeping your kids safe. Consent is king.
Consent.
But kids don't need to share affection towards strangers just for doing something nice. Keep your kids safe. Please, keep your kids safe.
Is the message keep your kids away from me? Is that what
Mike,
you're
it's funny you say that. I wrote down, was the lesson a lesson for parents and strangers, or was it Dan patting himself on the back again? Because I can't keep up with this. The way it started is just like I cheer kids up because I got these bracelets and it says, I ain't stupid. And I hand it to the kid and they get all excited.
There was a great when Carlos Mencia was on Tiger Belly, Bobby Lee's podcast.
Yep.
The Joe Rogan joke stealing stuff came up, and Carlos Mencia was trying to lay out a scenario, and he goes like, "Say I'm a rapist," and I'm like, Carlos, why is this the analogy you're using? Stop saying that.
What an idiots. Yeah. Stop putting
kinda
that out
Daniel's
into the ethos, you
Yeah.
idiots. One more Woke Dad. We got to wrap up pretty quickly here. Mike's got another obligation tonight.
Menner's calls, baby.
Busy guy.
I was just out picking up food that I had ordered with my two kids, and the woman in front of me in line, this little older lady, called me the F slur.
That's the one. That's the one.
I laughed out loud.
Me
I was like,
too.
get her on the show. Let's go. She sounds awesome.
As I said, I've seen so many of these clips that it's rare one takes me by surprise.
Yeah, it's
But
great.
that really got
I'm
me.
standing in line for food, picking up some food for my family, and this old lady turns around and just goes, "Hey, you F slur."
For the LGBTQIA community. Now, the irony there is that I'm just this straight dude. But my two kids that were with me, they're both
I'm not an F slur. My kids are.
They're
Take
both
that.
you know what.
members of that community. And I mean, I suppose she made that assumption because of my bracelets. This one says I'm an ally.
You know what,
This
lady?
is-
Fair assumption.
Dude, these fucking bracelets, man. I can't. I can't with these bracelets. What's
I gotta
this guy
say,
doing?
ma'am, you're from a different time, but I get the assumption, you know?
Dan, I don't talk to Dan directly very often on the show. Dan, fuck your bracelets. They're lame AF. Stop it with this.
They're getting you hate crimed out there.
I'm talented, I'm loved, and I'm smart, and I hand these out to people just to show a little kindness, a little positivity. So the easiest way for me to carry them with me is just on my wrist. I'm assuming she took one look at those.
That's what an
and made-
8-year-old does, by the way.
Yes.
Like an 8-year-old is like, oh, I'm carrying around bracelets to give to people. And you're like, oh, aren't you sweet? This is a 40-something-year-old man carrying bracelets to give out to people.
Yeah, and don't get me started on the toe rings.
I do have to tell you, like, deep down in my heart, I know that no old lady turned around and
No
called him
shit.
the F word.
Of course not.
But I want it to be true so bad. You know, don't you just
It's
want to
the-
believe sometimes?
It's the funniest thing that could have happened to him.
Yeah.
There's no way. There's no way that happened. to
That's
him.
his best lie. It's the one I'm willing to, I want to believe it's true. I'm just going to
Sure.
start saying
an
it.
assumption. Do you know what my response was? Happy Pride. Do you know why?
Ooh.
Because you're
Because
the
existence is resistance. For people like her, whoever she thought I was, or whatever assumptions she made about me,
Well, she didn't call you a kid toucher, which is what we do on this show. So it could have been worse, I suppose.
So
Somebody
some
like
lady,
me.
hold on, in front of your kids, some lady was like, "Hey, you fucking homo,"
Yeah.
and you were like, "All right, ma'am, have a nice day."
And a happy pride to you as well,
and
man.
the kids are just like, "I guess that's cool to say to people." I don't know.
Well, Dan was being the bigger fruit that day.
She made about me. Somebody like me existing is enough for her to stew in her hate for the rest of her life, and the fact that I'm not all stirred up by her chaotic bigotry is enough to make her mad too. I'm not just an ally.
Chaotic bigotry would be a good name for a stand-up special.
Ooh, that is
Write that,
great.
write that one down. I would
Wow.
watch that.
I'm gonna tell Louis J. Gomez. I feel like that belongs to him.
Yeah, he would like that.
See, I'm an accomplice. I'm going to put myself in the middle of that fire every single time so that people like my kids don't have to take that type of hate. So I tell you what, go show some love today. Happy Pride. Love wins.
It could have
Have a
been
great day.
could have been a term of endearment, right? Like the N-word is turned into. What's up, Afsler?
Well, you're so clearly one that I feel like we could just say it to each other. No,
Right? Yeah, that's how I take that. Because otherwise, that's a wild thing to say in public.
but Daniel, 10 out of 10, 5 stars, excellent job. There was not a lick of fat on that bone. You made up the perfect story. Keep them like that. So there's no ad-libbing. There's no meat on it. Just the lady turned around, called me the F word, kept moving. Perfect.
I love it.
Go to blindmike.net for Blind Mike or go to whoarethese.com for Carl and make sure you subscribe to both channels or there will be no banter.